Why don't UK cops carry guns? Most use non-lethal tools like batons, handcuffs, and mace. This is because the Metropolitan Police was founded on policing by consent, and they worry that guns sabotage that. Less than 10% of UK officers carry guns. In a year-long period up to March 2016, only 7 shots were fired in England and Wales, and a poll of officers showed that 82% wanted to keep it that way.
Do you think all police officers should be armed?
I don't personally. I know it's something that a lot of people are on the fence about. People that we were pursuing who would up their weaponry in response to that.
Do you think there'd be an escalation if there were more police officers armed?
Personally. Well, I think that we should be trained on them, but not to be carrying them all the time.
So they would be held in an arsenal depending on the threat that was out there?
Yeah, that would be my ideal, that we were all trained in initial use. I think it would be beneficial to have these weapons available in case of a situation like that. But routinely, I don't agree with it now.
Okay, so from top to bottom, we have our PR, our radio, communicating with each other and to control. We've got a body-worn video that's activated on most jobs. It's got a 30-second buffer, so that when we do activate it, it pre-records 30 seconds, so it gives us some sort of time. So if we do miss anything, we don't press it in time. It pre-records 30 seconds beforehand, which is quite useful. I'm carrying a taser, which is X2. Got two shots capability. That's recently come in over the past year. Pava, which is a pepper spray, which all officers carry. The ASP baton, rigid handcuffs, and then these are fast straps. So if someone's being particularly unmanageable, these Velcro straps can be placed around their legs just to make them more manageable.
Like my colleague, I've got most of the kit, albeit just apart from the taser.
In the UK, officers don't have anything like that. The best they have is a pepper spray. Would you be prepared to police the streets of London like that? What would you say to those guys and women who do it in London?
I give them
in the whole of England, actually, sorry.
I give them a lot of credit for doing what they do without the weapons and tools that we have here. I don't think I'd be a police officer over there, essentially going at the mercy of the wolves.
I think it's a different environment out there. I think the taser rollout for us would give us a very good, would give us enough useful force in this country. We obviously don't kind of have the same level of gun crime that they do in America, and a lot of our kit is very similar. It's really just the firearm that we are lacking.
Yeah, I believe the mere presence of having a taser is almost enough sometimes to prevent a subject becoming aggressive or violent towards myself or my colleagues. It's a bright colour, it stands out, people are aware of its capabilities.
The killing of unarmed black people by police is an issue of systemic racism. But how much do armed officers exacerbate aggression and escalate tension? Law enforcement in the UK and New Zealand generally don't carry guns at all. So does that leave police more open to harm? Or does taking away their firearms help shift the power dynamic? Look, it's naive to think the US would ever decide to disarm its public, let alone its police force. But stripping cops of guns is not a radical idea, and a bunch of countries have already done it. So how effective is it when it comes to policing, and should we do it here? Let's look at 3 things: the psychology of guns, the firearm-free model, and rethinking policing. The psychology of guns. There's no clear evidence that guns make officers safer, and it can make people feel the opposite.
We think that actually enhances their fear and decreases their sense of safety.
Psychologist and criminologist Dr. Michelle Noon says that mindset is dangerous when rational thinking disappears and fight or flight kicks in. What's more, studies suggest the mere presence of a gun can potentially increase aggressive thoughts and perceptions of hostility. That's known as the weapons effect. Other studies show carrying a gun can also make you more paranoid or increase testosterone. Take a gun from the hands of an aggressive cop and they're still an aggressive cop, but their ability to take a life in a split second is at the very least tempered, and they're instead forced to rely on mediation and de-escalation. That could be why some countries chose the firearm-free model. In 19 countries around the world, police don't carry guns on regular patrol. England decided not to give police guns in the 19th century because they didn't want police to be feared. In 2006, only 23% of UK officers supported being routinely armed. Even after multiple terrorism incidents by 2017, 2/3 still prefer to be unarmed. Today, a majority of the force is still unarmed, with the exception of counter-terrorism units. Mentality is shifting in New Zealand, where police have patrolled without guns since the late 1800s. The country's recently trialled putting at least 3 armed officers on constant patrol in areas with large Maori and Pacifica populations. Both are already significantly more likely to be victims of police violence.
Taking a gun off someone means that someone may be beaten, injured, harassed, arrested, but they won't be killed.
Emily Rakati is an organiser of Arms Down NZ, a campaign to prevent routine armed patrols.
When you give a police officer a gun and say your job is to solve problems, they'll use a gun to solve problems.
Don't get me wrong, police don't have an easy job. They put themselves in harm's way, and there's no doubt that firearms are non-negotiable in some circumstances. But is a gun really necessary against, say, a teenage boy in his own home?
Guns have brought us traumas.
Last year, Kumanjai Walker was killed, shot 3 times by an officer in the remote NT community of Yintamu. He was 19.
Right across Central Australia, we would like to see guns to be put away. And we're saying that right from here.
Why then are guns still there when the Royal Commission back in 1991 said cops should listen to the community and implement community policing, where officers are there to engage, not coerce, making allies of residents through communication, not control?
Enough is enough. We do not want guns. Guns is not our culture.
We can argue the point whether general cops on patrol in Australia need guns, but when it comes to police in remote communities, those communities have made it clear for a long time. Just take away their guns.
You don't have to fight and you don't have to be a jerk. Just gotta exercise your rights and you'll find that it works. Officer, I'm happy to cooperate, but not without my lawyer. I don't talk to cops. Never, ever, ever talk to cops.